Welcome to Music Theory Fundamentals Lecture 10. We'll start with a loaded question. What is this? There are a variety of correct answers to this question, of course. Some might say it's a chord, others might label it a triad, and still others, feeling particularly proud of themselves, might say, that's a root position C major triad. And if you're in category 3, well, congratulations to you. Today's lecture is about chords, specifically triads in root position. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's the difference between a chord and a triad? Triads are chords, but not all chords are triads. By definition, a triad needs to have 3 different pitches present. That's where the tri comes from in triad. So, for example, this is a triad, and this is a chord. However, this is a chord, but not a triad. And so on. As we add more pitches to these chords, they're still chords, but they're no longer triads because they have more than 3 pitches. During this discussion, we will cover constructing a root position triad, identifying a root position triad, and we will learn about 4 different triad qualities. Let's get started. What makes a triad root position? That's a great question. In order for a triad to be in root position, it will need to show up on the staff as space, 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 or line, line, line. When we move the pitches so that you have space, line, line, or line, line, space, it's no longer in root position. In order for it to be a root position triad, it's going to look a little like a snowman. Don't decapitate your snowman when you're constructing root position triads. Those triads need to have all spaces or all lines. As soon as you decapitate that snowman, he's not in root position anymore. Triads, like intervals, can vary in quality. Remember, in intervals, we learned about major and minor intervals. We learned about perfect and diminished and augmented intervals. Well, triads come in different qualities also. Every root position triad has 3 members: the root, the third, and the fifth, which make up our snowman together when they are in root position. In root position, the root is always at the bottom, the third is always in the middle, and the fifth is always on top. We have a third at the bottom, space to a space. We also have a fifth from the root to the fifth. This is how we give them their names of root, third, and fifth. What we see here is an example of a major quality triad. It's a C major triad, and C major has become a friend to us this semester. We see the third at the bottom, but it's a major third. Above that, our other third is a minor third. Every major quality triad has a major third on the bottom, between the root and the third, and a minor third on the top, between the third and the fifth. They also have a perfect fifth, always, between the root and the fifth. Let's practice calculating this by looking at a keyboard. Starting on a C, in order for this to be a major third, we need 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. So we can see here that a C to an E is a major third. Now let's count from the E up to the G. 1, 2, 3 half steps. This gives us a minor third. In order to calculate the distance between the root and the fifth, we can take a look at our circle of fifths. If we're using the key signature method, we know that the key of C has no sharps and no flats. In other words, the key of C has a G natural. This tells us for sure that that interval between the root and the fifth is a perfect fifth. Let's calculate another one. Now we see a G, B, and D on the staff. This is another major quality triad. We know that it's major because our third on the bottom goes 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps up. So that means it's definitely a major third. And then going from a B to a D, we count up 1, 2, 3 half steps. That means it's a minor third. So when you have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on the top, you're also going to have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. In the key of G major, we have one sharp. That's an F sharp. That means we have a D natural. That means G to D is a perfect fifth. Another way to calculate that you have a perfect fifth is by looking on your circle of fifths. See that G that we've circled? Go 1 circle of fifths degree to the right or clockwise. That's 1/5 above G. G to D, right next to it, on the circle of fifths, is a perfect fifth. Let's take a look at one more major quality triad. It starts on an A flat and goes up a major third, 4 half steps. Now we'll calculate the third that goes from the third to the fifth. That goes from C to E flat, 3 half steps. So when we have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on the top, we're always going to have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. Again, you can look at your circle of fifths and determine what's in the key signature for A flat, or you can go 1 degree clockwise. A flat to E flat is a perfect fifth. Now that we've learned to identify major quality triads, let's use what we've learned to construct major quality triads. Build a major quality triad using the pitch above as the root. Not surprising, our first step is to put it on the staff. So building space, space, space for our root position triad, we've got a great start. Now we bring in the keyboard so we can calculate the individual intervals. Starting on an A, we're going to move up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps to find our major third on the bottom. It has to be some kind of C. In this case, a C sharp is a major third above A. Now we calculate the top interval, C sharp up to some kind of E, and it has to be a minor third, so we need to count 1, 2, 3 half steps. We've arrived on an E. This is an A major triad. It has a major third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. We can always double check with our circle of fifths to see that an A, go clockwise 1 degree, up to E is a perfect fifth. Now let's build a major quality triad using this pitch as the root. We've got a G flat, so let's put a line above that and a line above that to build our snowman. Now we bring in the keyboard. Our first third, or the one on the bottom, needs to be a major third. So we need to go up 4 half steps from G flat. Let's count. 4 half steps up. Some kind of B, that's a B flat. Now the third on the top needs to be a minor third. That means we need to go up another 3 half steps. Let's count. 3 half steps up, some kind of D. This would be a D flat. This is how we would construct a G flat major triad. We can always check on our circle of fifths to make sure that we have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. So we find our G flat, we go clockwise 1 degree, and we find a D flat as the fifth above G flat. So we have successfully constructed our G flat major triad. Let's do one more. Using the above pitch as the root, build a major triad. We start with our snowman, we bring in our keyboard, we calculate the first third being 4 half steps up. It looks like a G, but it's some kind of F. So what kind of F is it? Well, remember, when you take an F and you go up 1 chromatic half step, you arrive at an F sharp. And 2 chromatic half steps up is an F double sharp. Now we calculate our next third, which starts on an F double sharp, which looks a lot like a G, and goes up 3 half steps to some kind of A. Let's count. 1, 2, 3. What kind of A is it? A sharp. This is how you would spell a D sharp major triad. We can check the interval of the root to the fifth to see if we've successfully constructed a perfect fifth. But here's where it gets a little bit tricky. When we have a D sharp as the root, but we don't have a D sharp on our circle of fifths, we start with what we do have. Sounding familiar? We have a key of D, and 1 clockwise degree away from D is A. This tells us that if a D to an A is a perfect fifth, a D sharp to an A sharp is also a perfect fifth. For some of you, a faster way to construct a major triad would be to recognize that it incorporates the first, third, and fifth scale degrees of a major scale. We see our C major scale here, a very familiar sight. The C, E, and G are the first, third, and fifth scale degrees. They are also a way to spell a major triad. This can work for any major triad. If you know the first, third, and fifth scale degrees of a major scale, then you also know how to spell the corresponding major quality triad. This would be a perfect time to pause the video and practice constructing major quality triads on your own. Now that we've covered the identification and construction of major quality triads, it's time to learn about minor quality triads. Much of the process remains the same. In root position, we still build our snowman. We still have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. The quality of the inner intervals changes. We flip the minor and major thirds. So between our root, third, and fifth, our snowman, we now have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on the top, and still a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. This is an example of a minor quality triad. We can calculate it with our keyboard. Starting on an A, that first third will need to be a minor third. 1, 2, 3 half steps up to C. The next third is going to need to be a major third, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps up. That gives us an E natural. And then finally, in order to construct our perfect fifth, we can look at our circle of fifths and see that right next to the A, 1 degree clockwise, is an E. So a perfect fifth above A is E. Build a minor quality triad using the pitch above as the root. Well, we all know the first step, and that's going line, line, line and putting it on the staff. Now, we need to calculate our intervals to make sure that they have the correct number of half steps separating them. In order for our bottom interval to be a minor third, and our top interval to be a major third, and the root to the fifth to be a perfect fifth, we will need to count 1, 2, 3 half steps up for our minor third, up to F natural, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps up to A natural to be a major third on the top. And then finally, we can check our circle of fifths to see that a perfect fifth above a D is an A. Let's construct a minor triad above the root of G. We need a minor third on the bottom, a major third on the top, and a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. Let's start with our root and construct our first minor third, G up to some kind of B. 1, 2, 3 half steps up is a minor third. It needs to have the letter name B, so this is a B flat. Now we'll find our major third, starting on that B flat and going 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps up. This is a D. Minor third on the bottom, major third on the top means we have a minor quality triad. However, let's check our perfect fifth just to make sure. If we find G on our circle of fifths and go 1 degree clockwise, we see that a perfect fifth above is a D. Let's construct a minor triad above the root of B sharp. We'll need to put it on the staff, find a minor third on the bottom, a major third on the top, and again a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. Starting on a B sharp, which looks a lot like a C, we'll go up 1, 2, 3 half steps. This has to be some kind of D. That means a minor third above B sharp is a D sharp. Now we move from D sharp up to some kind of F that's 4 half steps away. It looks like a G. It has to be spelled like an F. So 2 half steps up from F is F double sharp. We can check our circle of fifths to determine whether we have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. Again, this one gets a little tricky because there is no B sharp on our circle of fifths, but there is a B. This tells us that if B 1 degree clockwise to F sharp is a perfect fifth, then B sharp to F double sharp is also a perfect fifth. For some of you, a faster way to construct a minor triad would be to recognize that it incorporates the first, third, and fifth scale degrees of a minor scale. So if you're very familiar with constructing minor scales, and you know your minor key signatures really well, this might be a faster method of minor triad root position construction. This would be a perfect time to pause the video and practice constructing minor quality triads on your own. Before we transition to our next triad quality, I'd like to take some time to demonstrate what these triads sound like. Let's start by listening to what these intervals sound like. C up a major third to an E, E up a minor third to a G, C up a perfect fifth to a G, and when we put that third in the middle, which is the E for our C major triad, this is how our major triad sounds all together. Now if I take that pitch in the middle and I bring it down a half step. I've flipped the order of my thirds. Now we have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on the top. This is our C minor triad. C major, C minor. It's similar to what we said about scales. Remember, major is Mary Had a Little Lamb, whereas minor is Mary Had a Little Lamb. So we can change major to minor by lowering the third by a half step. Now if we take this minor triad and we lower that fifth by a half step, now we have our diminished triad, which is built with a minor third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth. That's our tritone. Here's how it sounds all together. What does this chord sound like to you? Hearing what that third quality of triad sounds like gives us a great transition to our next topic. Let's learn about a triad that has two minor quality thirds and a diminished fifth. It's still line, 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 or space, 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 or a snowman. But this time we have a minor third on the bottom, another minor third on the top, and the distance between the root and the fifth is a diminished fifth. Remember, a diminished fifth is one chromatic half step narrower than a perfect fifth. Let's determine what this diminished quality triad looks like on a staff. We see an example here. If we calculate it on our keyboard, we find a minor third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth. 3 half steps from B to D, 3 half steps from D to F. Now, if you want to take the time to calculate your diminished fifth, you can use your circle of fifths, find the B, and determine that a perfect fifth above B, 1 degree clockwise, is an F sharp. However, we need the interval that is 1 chromatic half step narrower. In other words, we'd need to bring that F sharp down a half step. A B major has an F sharp in the key signature. Therefore, a B to an F sharp is a perfect fifth. A diminished fifth is 1 half step narrower than a perfect fifth. This is why B to F natural is a diminished fifth. I'm not going to go through the process of calculating the diminished fifth for every single diminished quality triad we discussed today, but I think it's important to understand the relationship and see how it works. Let's build a diminished quality triad using the pitch above the C as the root. Step 1, let's build our snowman. Space, space, space. Step 2, we need a minor third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth. Starting on the C and going up 1, 2, 3 half steps to some kind of E, this tells us that we need to make that an E flat. Now we'll calculate the minor third on the top, starting on that E flat and going up 3 half steps. We arrive on some kind of a G, and in this case, it's a G flat. That makes this a C diminished triad in root position. Now construct a diminished quality triad with a root of F sharp. We start by adding our other 2 pitches. We know we need a minor third on the bottom and a minor third on the top and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth in order for this to be a diminished quality triad. So we start on an F sharp and we count up 3 half steps. This gives us an A natural. Now we'll start on an A natural and move up 3 more half steps to find some kind of a C. This is a C natural, which is a minor third above A. That means we've already constructed our diminished triad with F sharp as the root. This is the correct answer. Let's do one more together. Build a diminished quality triad. That D flat is our root, so we need some kind of F and some kind of A above. We also know that we need a minor third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a diminished fifth between the root and the fifth in order for the quality of this triad to be diminished. So we'll start on our D flat and count up 1, 2, 3 half steps to some kind of F. Yes, it looks like an E, but in this case we have to spell it as an F flat. Now we'll start on that F flat and we'll count up 3 half steps. Yes, it looks like a G, but it has to be spelled like some kind of A. So what kind of A is 2 half steps down from A natural? A double flat. This is our D flat diminished triad. Pause the video and take a few minutes to practice constructing root position diminished triads. So far, we've learned about major triads. That's a root third and fifth with a major third on the bottom, a minor third on the top, and a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. We've also learned about minor triads, root third fifth, minor third on the bottom, major third on the top, and perfect fifth, again, between the root and the fifth. And we've learned about diminished triads, 2 minor thirds and a diminished fifth. Can you guess how our final root position triad might be constructed? Few things have not changed. We still have a root third and fifth, constructed like a snowman. Line, 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 or space, space, space. But this time, we have a major third on the bottom, a major third on the top, and an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth. Let's hear what an augmented triad sounds like. So we've already discussed the differences in a major triad and a minor when we lower the third, and we've discussed a diminished triad when we lower the fifth from that. However, if we take our major triad and raise the fifth, we have our augmented triad. What does that sound like to you? A lot of folks would say, it sounds like it's going somewhere. It's an unsettled chord. For example, it's my party and I'll cry if I want to, cry if I want to, cry if I want to. All right, it starts on that A major triad and then it moves to an A augmented, which leads us to the next chord. We hear this at the beginning of a famous Beatles tune called Oh Darlin'. That's an E augmented triad, which leads us to Oh Darlin'. Definitely check that song out if you've never heard it before. This is an example of an augmented quality triad. We know it's an augmented quality triad because there's a major third on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. There's a major third on the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. And there's an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth. If we locate our A on the circle of fifths and see that 1 degree clockwise is an E natural, that tells us that A to E is a perfect fifth. An augmented fifth is 1 chromatic half step wider. A major has an E natural in the key signature, therefore A to E natural is a perfect fifth. An augmented fifth is 1 half step wider than a perfect fifth, and this is why A to E sharp is an augmented fifth. Again, I'm not going to take the time to go through every augmented fifth as we spell our augmented quality triads. But it's still very important to understand that this is what gives the augmented quality triad its name. It's the augmented fifth. Let's build an augmented quality triad using the pitch above as the root. So we see a G flat pictured, and we'll need some kind of B and some kind of D above that in order to make this a root position triad. We also need a major third on the bottom, a major third on the top, and an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth. Let's calculate it on our keyboard. Starting on a G flat and going up 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4 to some kind of B. This is a B flat, which is a major third above G flat. Now we'll start on that B flat and count up 4 half steps. We land on a D natural. This is an augmented triad built on a G flat root. Let's do another one. Build an augmented triad on E sharp. Well, we know that we need line, line, line because it will be an E to some kind of a G and some kind of a B. We know we need a major third on the bottom and a major third on the top and an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth in order for the quality to be augmented. So let's count our half steps to calculate our major thirds. Starting on an E sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps up. It looks like an A, but we have to spell it with the letter name G. What kind of G is that? G double sharp. Now we'll start on that G double sharp that looks like an A and count up 4 half steps. This is some kind of a B, and in this case, B up 2 half steps is a B double sharp. This is our correct answer for an E sharp augmented triad. Let's do one more. Construct a B flat augmented triad in root position. Line, line, line. Major third on the bottom, major third on the top, augmented fifth between the root and the fifth. Let's count on the keyboard, starting on a B flat. 4 half steps up to some kind of D, that's a D natural. Now we'll go up 4 more half steps, starting on that D. Some kind of an F, this would be an F sharp, and yes, it is possible to have a flat and a sharp in the same triad. Okay, this last one is just for fun. I know, I have a strange idea of what fun is, but trust me, this'll be worth it. Build an augmented triad on B sharp. We start like we've built every other root position triad by putting in the other 2 pitches. We know for an augmented triad we'll need a major third on the bottom, a major third on the top, and an augmented fifth between the root and the fifth. So let's find these on a keyboard, shall we? 4 half steps up from B sharp. It looks like an E. It needs the D letter name. This is a D double sharp. So far, so good, right? Now we need to start on that D double sharp and go up 4 more half steps to find some kind of F. Well, we land on something that looks like a G sharp, but we already know it needs to be some kind of F, so we look at the F key and we see that up 1 half step is F sharp, up 2 half steps is F double sharp, up 3 half steps? I'll tell you a story. I teach this class as a face-to-face class, and one of the tools that I use is ping pong balls. On each ping pong ball is the name of a pitch. And I will have students come to the board and say, write a minor third above D flat, or write major seventh below D flat, or build a diminished triad on D flat. Whatever your ping pong ball is, that's your assigned pitch. Well, one day my students were going through this activity, and many of them had finished writing their augmented triads, but there was one student who was left at the board, and he was staring, and he was thinking, and he was considering, and he looked confused. And finally he turned around and he said, "I think I need help." So, feeling very heroic, I marched right up to the board and said, "No problem, I'll come in and save the day." He had been given B sharp. I said, "No problem. I'll go through it with you. Let's do this as a class. Starting on a B sharp, which looks like a C. We need to go up 4 half steps to some kind of D. We've just arrived on an E natural, but we can't call it an E natural because it has to be some kind of a D, so it's a D double sharp. Now we're going to go up 4 more half steps to some kind of F. And we land on a G sharp, but we can't call it a G sharp, we have to call it an F something. Well, we have F, we have 1 half step up, F sharp, we have 2 half steps up, F double sharp, but what do we call 3 half steps up? So I did what any academic person would do when presented with a problem and not quite knowing the answer in an area of their field. I went to social media. And so I posed the question, how do you spell a B sharp augmented triad? And a lot of folks had no idea. Finally, one person came up with a reasonable answer. This isn't an F natural, it's not an F sharp, it's not even an F double sharp. The only way to correctly label this note would be F triple sharp. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never actually seen a triple sharp in music anywhere. It's not going to be on the test. Up to the point of discovering this, I assumed that you could pick any pitch with any accidental next to it and build any kind of triad, major, minor, augmented, or diminished. But I gotta say, this one stumped me. Take a few minutes to practice constructing augmented triads on your own. Feel free to pause the video. What you need to remember about labeling root position triads with chord symbols is that root comes before quality. What do I mean by that? Well, let's say the root of your triad is a G and the quality of your triad is major. Then the correct way to label this for this class is to put that G and the M together. This means G major. What if your root is an E flat and the quality of your triad is diminished? Well, then you would label that triad as an E flat diminished triad. If your root is an F sharp and your quality is augmented, then you've got an F sharp augmented triad. And if your root is a B and your quality is minor, it's a B minor triad. Let's see how this looks on a staff. If we start on that G and calculate our first interval, we see that we have a minor third. That's 3 half steps up. Now we'll start on the third and count our way up to the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps. That tells us that we have a major third on the top. So when we have a minor third on the bottom and a major third on the top and a perfect 5th between the root and the 5th, we know that we have a minor quality triad. Let's label this. Root, that's a G. Quality, that's minor. This is a G minor triad. Let's do another one. We see that our lowest pitch is a D sharp. To calculate that third, we start on D sharp and count up to the F double sharp. That's 4 half steps, also known as a major third. Now we'll count up to the A sharp. That was 3 half steps. This also tells us that when we have a major third on the bottom and a minor third on the top, we're always going to have a perfect fifth between the root and the fifth. So the quality of this triad is major. The root is D sharp. We label this as a D sharp major triad. When this lecture is finished, you should spend some time looking at root position triads, identifying them with a chord symbol that includes root and quality. Today we learned a lot about constructing and identifying root position triads. These included major quality, minor quality, diminished quality, and augmented quality triads. Be sure you spend plenty of time practicing these on your own.